Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the sixth round of the British Triathlon Tri-Nations series on Zwift. As you can see, our racing is underway this evening. Apologies for a little couple of minutes late getting onto commentary this evening. A few technical gremlins behind the scenes, but thankfully Zwift is very reliable and racing is underway. Good evening to our riders. I know several of our riders have, as we found through the series, have been listening to the commentary as they've been racing. Hopefully that has been helping you along the way. Bit of motivation and listening and to us chatting away here. Also, big welcome to any of the followers following the racing action on the British Triathlon Facebook page. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name's John Levison, and we are here, as we said. This is the fifth of six races in this British Triathlon Tri-Nations series. A little bit of fun action to keep our members amused during well, it's over a 6-month period. So as we say, only 1 month to go. We have had races all over the place in the virtual worlds of Zwift since our first race, which I think was back in May. Tonight we're in the, I was going to say virtual world, but it's a real replica of Central Park in Manhattan, New York. We're on what is known as the Laguardia Loop. So this particular loop is just a route that is used within races such as this one. The route itself is gently rolling. It's a short circuit, 2.8 kilometers long. We will be completing 10 circuits this evening, so that's 28k plus there's a little section that leads us into that route at the start, so we've already covered that. So the total distance tonight will be 29.5 kilometers. No massive climbs on the circuit, but as we say, it is gently rolling. Total climbing will just accumulate to just under 300 meters over the course of that 29.5 kilometers. So with that little bit of background, we'll give you more info as we go. Just let's have a first look at who we've got on screen. Who's taking part tonight? Well, we can see we're looking from the perspective of Chris Walker. So Chris has been a very regular member of these races all the way since I think race number 2. He's was a winner of race 2. He was the winner of race 4. He was second in race 3. So very experienced athlete, both in the real world and on Zwift. So good to have you back, Chris. I know Chris generally shares the stream onto his own Facebook page. So if you've got any friends, family watching Chris, well, good evening to all of you this evening. We're just coming up to 4.3 kilometers. So I was just about to say, you can see it in the distance. That green archway that we're going under, that will be effectively the start finish of each lap. So that is the end of lap number 1. So we're doing 10 laps, but the total isn't 44k. So just as we said a few moments ago, there was a little lead-in section. So we're going to try and keep you abreast of where we are in terms of laps and loops, etc. And then as we go through the racing, we'll have a little hop around the various riders. We'll be trying to bring everybody home. That's always a bit of a technical challenge behind the scenes for us, but we will be here from first to last rider. So let's just get to tell you a little bit more about this representation of the circuit where we are. As we said, Central Park, New York. I'm sure everybody knows of Central Park, whether you've been there or not. It's one of the most iconic and well-known parks in the world. Plenty of movie action has been taking place in Central Park over the years. This circuit, the Laguardia Loop, was named after a former New York City mayor, Fiorello LaGuardia, who was described as an energetic, charismatic, and it says short. So they've taken that short aspect of Mayor Fiorello, who was 5'2", and that's why we've got a short circuit here, this 2.8 kilometer loop. So it's a real criterium style course for us this evening, very different to most of the routes that we've done so far. Perhaps the London route, which was I think the first one, probably the closest one to that, with those multiple loops around Buckingham Palace, the Strand, etc. But I don't think we've had this many loops on a circuit so far within the Tri-Nations series. So we're already up to 6 kilometers. So we're now looking from the perspective of T Fletcher. So that's Tim Fletcher. So if I remember rightly, way back on the first of our races, Tim was in an epic sprint finish. That was actually on that London course with Will Newbury. And I think Tim just lost out on that one, but it was the first of many sprint finishes that we've had through this Tri-Nations series up to now. So obviously from a viewing perspective, always good to get a sprint finish. So with a bit of luck, let's hope that the front group manages to stay together to the finish, and then we can see some big power numbers being generated at the end. And the lactic legs of our athletes, they can be in pain back at their homes, back in their garage, in their pain cave, wherever they are, and we can just enjoy the on-screen action. So rapidly approaching 7k, so I've got myself a little reminder here. So I think we should be coming up to the end of lap 2 at around about 7.2 kilometers. So you'll be starting to get familiar with this particular bit of the course, and hopefully the riders will be getting familiar with this bit of the course, because if they do end up in a sprint finish, it will be from around where they are now, and as they come up to, it's going to be about 7.1, 7.2k, you'll see them go under the green archway that you can just about see in the distance. So that is the beginning and end of each of the 2.8 kilometer loops here on this LaGuardia Loop on the New York and within Central Park in New York. So if you have, for any particular reason, you have stumbled, as I often do, across things on Facebook, you're seeing this live video and you're thinking, what on earth is going on here? This looks like a cycling cartoon, and they're commentating on it as if it's a real race. Well, believe it or not, it is a real race. It's a combination of real life and virtual. We're on the cycling app Zwift, which is the market leading cycling app. So what this allows cyclists, triathletes, etc. to do is to ride from the, I was going to say comfort, but that's probably not quite the right term, but the comfort of their own home, garage, pain cave, whatever you want to call it. So each of the avatars on the screen represents a real rider. Those riders will be based all over the UK, potentially all over the world, and they will be riding on their regular bikes or even a smart bike. And if they're on a regular bike, they'll be connected to what we call a smart turbo trainer. That turbo trainer connects through the Zwift application, and then what happens is the data, or the power output, so in simple terms, the degree to which the power is going through the pedals at home, Zwift will combine that in a pretty accurate algorithm which takes into account the rider's height and weight, and will give a real life representation of the actual speeds that they would do in the real world, translates that to this virtual world, and so it is enables riders from all over the globe to do realistic racing in a remote environment. Sounds complicated. The technology behind it, I'm sure, is complicated, certainly well above my brain power, but having used Zwift myself for many years now, and certainly a significantly lower level than the guys that we're watching on screen at the moment, Tim Fletcher and Chris Walker. It actually works really, really well. And Zwift have become a partner of British Triathlon, and many, many members and cyclists, triathletes all over the world regularly use the Zwift application to train. It enables them to do racing, regular, casual rides, workouts, and much, much more on a whole host of different maps, different courses, and different terrains. So it looks like we've got a little bit of a breakaway there, but we've just gone back to, I think, the second group. So who have we got there? We've got Mercer. So just as a reminder, we haven't mentioned it already, this is the Tri-Nations series. So on screen, you'll see different coloured jerseys. So everyone we're seeing on screen at the moment is in the white. The white jerseys represent athletes from the Triathlon England region. And I'm sure you can probably work out if we see the red and the black jerseys, which I know Chris Walker is in. That represents Welsh Triathlon, and our Scottish athletes will be in blue. So that's how to tell who is representing which of the home nations. So we're seeing Mercer there. They're just coming under that green banner. So that is the end of the third lap. So 3 laps to go. We've got plenty of familiar names here. I'm just seeing, just looking down the rider list. So on the right-hand side, you'll see a list of riders' names. Under each rider, it will give you various information, how far they've gone, what their power output is. So you'll see where it says W/kilograms. That's it's a representation of their relative power. So that's the number of watts output divided by their weight, which is quite important because all other things being equal, a larger, heavier rider would generally be able to put out more power than, for example, a very small, slight athlete, but it's that relative measure of how many watts can you put out per each kilogram. One of the key factors, not everything, but one of the key factors in determining actually how fast you'll go, both in a virtual Zwift world, but also in the real world. So just about to say there, some of the people that we've got there. So Sam Palmer, I'm seeing in there. He is, his team name's up there. I think it's Electric Spirit. Well, Sam has been racing regularly with us, and he's been getting better through the series. So he was 6th overall in the first race in London, 3rd in France, 8th in France, and then the last race, which was back in France, but this time in Paris on the Champs-Élysées course, he was 5th there. So thank you once again, Sam, for supporting this British Triathlon Tri-Nations series. Good to have you back, and there's plenty of other names also on there that have been with us all the way through, including, of course, probably my favourite name, Nick Dr. Kickass. What a cool name that is. That's his Zwift name. I'm going to hazard a guess that his real surname probably isn't Dr. Kickass, but if it is, well, good on you, sir. Nick raced with us in the first and second of the 4 races that we've had so far. This is the 5th. We've got 1 more to come. So there we go. We're seeing Nick on there. So he's in the colours of Triathlon Scotland. So he's going to be a member of Triathlon Scotland. He's got his individual flag coming up as Greece. So I'm wondering if Nick is maybe a Greek athlete now residing in Scotland. So I guess that means we should call him Nick the Greek, but there you go. That's probably a little bit obvious, but hey, we'll take it while we can. So Nick is 10.6 kilometers into his just over 29 kilometer ride. So he's midway now around circuit number 4. And we said that there are, oh, Nick's come to a bit of a halt. Not sure what's going on with Nick there. Maybe he needs a bit of a rest. Let's tell you just a little bit about the screen that you're looking at. So as well as seeing the rider, if we go to the top of the screen, the white box with the 4 numbers in, that's what in Zwift world we call the heads-up display. So that gives you some of the basic data that a rider would typically have if they're actually riding in the real world on most of the bike computer or GPS head units that the majority of riders would use these days. So from left to right, we've got the speed. Then we've got next up the cumulative distance. So you'll see the speed will obviously vary going up and down dependent upon the terrain of the course and the power output of the rider. The second number now up to 11.8, the distance, so that will obviously go up consistently. This next number is another cumulative figure that is just showing the total amount of meters climbed during the course up to now. So I think, as we said at the start, it's just under 300 meters in aggregate of total climbing over the course of this 29.6 kilometers. Not a hugely hilly course, but it's one that is just constantly up and down. And then on the right hand side, the 4th number is just, as you can see, pretty obvious, just the total time since we started the event. So one thing to note that you're probably looking at that, let's say that 3rd number, the total climbing, go, well, how on earth do we have climbing if somebody is riding in their back bedroom or their garage on a static bike, one of the modern smart bikes? Well, one of the beauties of Zwift, as well as being able to send the information from your bike and your turbo trainer or your smart bike into the Zwift app, Zwift also communicates back to the trainer that you're on. So when you're actually riding on Zwift and you're going up a hill on the screen, as they are now, so top right hand corner, you can see the percentage. We've just gone actually back down to a downhill. As you go up a hill, the resistance on the bike that you are riding actually increases. So as you are riding in your own home, as you go up a hill, then actually, yeah, it does get more difficult to pedal. Similarly, where we are now, we can see the rider was just going downhill there. You can see that the speed increased naturally up to sort of mid 40 kilometers an hour. That's because the resistance on the trainer or the resistance on the pedals, if the rider that we're looking at here, D Holmes, was on a smart bike, that will have actually eased off because the Zwift application is able to talk. That's probably not the correct terminology, but let's call it that for now. That interaction between the software that the rider will see on their iPad, on their TV if they've got it connected to a television, or on their phone, actually talks back in real time, and it gives a really close representation and a real realistic riding experience. I'll be honest, when I started using Zwift about 3 years ago, initially I was thinking, oh, I'm not sure. All sounds a little bit gimmicky for me, but honestly, trying is believing. And it's no wonder that indoor training experience is one of the fastest growing that we see really in the cycling and triathlon worlds. So one of the riders we got here, so we're seeing Ben Jennings now. Now Ben is one of our ever presence So he has done all 4 of the races so far. So fantastic to have you back again, Ben. And huge thank you for your ongoing support. He was actually 4th last time in race 4. So yeah, maybe Ben is out there looking to see, is a podium position a possibility tonight? Well, we'll keep our eyes peeled on that, what is going on. Looks like Ben is around just under 2 minutes back at the moment. So let's just again give you, if you are looking on, you are new, not quite sure what we're looking at, whereabouts we are. On that right hand side, it will give the positions. So for example, Ben at the moment is saying we've got 12 riders. It's saying his current position is 8th of those 12. And then all of the times of the riders on that right hand side box. So you can see at the top, T Fletch minus 156. So that is indicating that Tim Fletcher is a minute and 56 seconds ahead. And then subsequently you will see the times of riders behind him have a plus. So for example, D Holmes is a minute behind, etc. So that means that as the riders are riding, they get a real-time representation of where they are, both in terms of position and time ahead, behind, etc. So there's lots of information going on, and it means that you really can have that real race experience. So 15.5k, so that means that we should be coming up to, I think, the end of lap 5. There we go. So it's just gone under that banner. So that's the end of lap 5 for Dixon. But I think back up at the front of the race where we've got Chris Walker and Tim Fletch. We're able to just move back to those. So there we go. So we're now back at the front of the race. So Andrew, who is working behind the scenes here, he's doing a sterling job with the tech, which I'm going to be honest, I don't know how he does it, how it works, but he's able to give us a view from the different riders as we go look through the field. So where we are now, we're right at the front of the race. So we've got Chris Walker. He has represented Gibraltar in the Commonwealth Games on 5 different occasions across both cycling and triathlon. He's also been an age group world champion and many other great results. And who knows, maybe his 2 victories in the British Triathlon Tri-Nation Series are his greatest sporting achievements. Perhaps not, but it's always good to have some great athletes here. And no surprise to see him at the moment being challenged by Tim Fletcher, because we said earlier, Tim did a fantastic job in that first race. Sprint finish right on the Mall in front of Buckingham Palace on that London course, and Tim just lost out to Will Newbury on that occasion. So it looks as though it's Tim perhaps just trying to make a little breakaway there. We're coming up to the green archway again, 18.4k, so that is the end of lap 6. So looks like we've got a leading duo, have got 4 laps to go. We're just taking a look at Tim. It looked like he was putting the power down, but I don't think he's managed to drop Chris yet. And no, there we go. He is right on the wheel. So just as in the real world, within Zwift, if you are able to ride close behind to another rider, in the real world, that would feel easier. You get that drafting benefit. The same thing happens in the Zwift world. So as we were explaining 3 or 4 moments ago in relation to the hills, if you're able to ride behind, close to a rider in front, stay within 2 or 3 meters, then that will ease off the pressure on your indoor trainer, your smart bike, as reflected by Zwift. So it's really, really Very, very clever how it all works. So there we go. We've got the two of them together. They're both riding that what's known as the Tron bike. Got the fluorescent wheels, and that's you can only ride that bike if you've completed one of the Zwift challenges, which I must check it out. I think it is you have to accumulate something like 50,000 meters of climbing through your Zwift rides, which obviously takes quite a while. So just as with many, I guess, computer games and various things, as you spend time in game and riding, there are lots of things to these virtual benefits, I guess, that you can gain. One of which is access to different kits, different bikes, different helmets, and various other things as you move through the Zwift levels. So these laps, as we said, pretty short, 2.8 kilometers. Already over 20k done now. We've only got 29.6 to go. So the end of lap 7 should be coming up in about 1 kilometer's time. 21.2 kilometers. If my little calculator is correct, we should see that green archway coming up again. Right now, a bit of excitement at the front. We've got our two riders locked together. So just as in a real life race, be interesting to see what the tactics are going to be. Is it going to come down to a sprint? Is one of the riders going to want to go and try and make a break early? And so we're going to have to try and keep our eyes on those power outputs, see if they suddenly surge. So where on the right hand side you're just seeing those numbers updating. They're varying dependent on the terrain. So you can see at the moment we're going up a 4% climb, which means that the effort gets a little bit higher. So Tim, for example, there 4.95 watts per kilo. Chris a little bit lower, just behind. He's getting a little bit of a drafting benefit, but we're now going at the steepest part, 7%. So just as it would be if you were coming up to a climb. If you're out on the roads, if you want to get over that climb, maintain your speed, then the power has to go up. So the green archway is ahead of us, 21.2 kilometers done. That is 7 of the 10 laps completed. So only about 8.5 kilometers left for our two leaders. So we're moving back to our chase group here, I think. So once again, it is 5 riders. We've got 4 Triathlon England jerseys and 1 Scott. So there is Dr. Kickass, our favourite name. We've got Sam Palmer in there. He's our regular, as I think we mentioned earlier. And just looking down on the timings, looks like they are they're a little way behind. Just trying to work out the timings here. Yeah, about 1 minute and 15 back, I think, if my interpretation is correct there. We get these great different angles, both overhead, from behind, looking back at the riders. You can actually access all of these if you are riding on Zwift yourself. If you're in races, etc., you can actually get to see all of these different views. Really is quite amazing what has gone into the Zwift system and how it's developed over the last 4 or 5 years. the addition of new maps. We've got real world courses. You can go and ride through the Surrey Hills, up Box Hill, ride around the Champs-Élysées, ride the some of the UCI World Championship courses in Bologna and in Austria, and also what will be the final race next month of the British Triathlon Tri-Nation Series, 12th of October. That will be our final race. It's going to be based on the UCI World Championship course in Harrogate, Yorkshire. So only appropriate that the British Triathlon series is after a bit of a world tour, is going to be returning back to some home roads, if virtual, on the 12th of October. So hopefully we will see as many of you as possible. If you're watching on and want to join in, please do come and join us. This is open to all levels. We'll hopefully be able to give everybody a shout out during the event as we sort of go through, as we have been doing this evening, sort of having a bit of a jump around through the riders. We're not just focused on who's at front. Always a little bit of a challenge at the finish to try and call everybody over the line, but Andrew, who's my tech man here, has done a sterling job over the last few races. We've been learning as we go as well, and I think we're getting a little bit more efficient with it each month. So just looking at this group, 23 kilometers just coming up, so they are going to be very, very soon, coming up to the end of lap number 8. So this is our, I guess, our chase group. I can see we've got our Lawrence there. Let's just apologize, see if we can get up your first name. No, apologies, not registered. But just coming up to 24k soon, so that will represent the end of lap 8. So that means up at the front, we really are not going to have too long to go. I think we possibly even onto lap 9. So yeah, 24.3k. So we've actually gone through the end of lap number 8. So we're on to that 9th lap. It is still Tim Fletcher and Chris Walker. Still very, very much together. Not much between them at all. So there we go. We're seeing now a view. This is really the very front of the race, looking backwards. Tim currently pushing 4.3, 4.5 watts per kilo, being chased down by Chris, or being held onto by Chris in a metaphorical sense. As they go through and around this Laguardia Loop, which is within Central Park, New York, top right-hand corner, the green box there, you'll see that little percentage sign. That will give you a real-time representation of what the gradient of the road is, whether we're flat, which would be at 0%, whether we're going up. So you just saw a little sharp climb there. We did briefly touch 7%. So there's no big hills there, but all of these constant changes do impact the legs, because as we said, each one of those hills is actually what you feel when you're riding on the turbo trainer or the smart bike. So we're just going up another little climb there. So Chris on the front, Tim not letting him go. 25.6 kilometers. And they are rapidly approaching the final lap. Only about 1 kilometer, and then we will see the green archway for what will be the penultimate time, and the time after they see that, it will be an all-out sprint. So at the moment, less than 4 kilometers to go. So just coming down to a little descent now, so they get a bit of a breather. So you see that percentage there, the negative number indicating a downhill. So that will help ease the legs just a little bit, means that they can just spin a little bit easier and still maintain the speed. So at the moment it has still been Tim on the front, Chris on the back. Is this the, I was going to say, can we call Chris a wily old fox? I think we could get away with that. After all, it's a virtual world. I know he is probably listening. Because I know Chris has been, and something we didn't actually expect. We didn't think that the riders themselves would be the ones listening in and watching in as they were riding, but based on some of the Facebook comments post-race as we've gone through the series, it's been interesting to find that out. But it's great that they are, and they're putting on a good show for us. So it's all going to come down at the front to a bit of a last lap burn up, I think. You can see the green archway in the distance. So this is it as they go under this banner. This is literally 1 lap to go, 2.8 kilometers of riding. So what's that going to be? Probably 3.5 to 4 minutes at a finger in the air guess. So yeah, whatever happens now, I think we are going to get a pretty close finish. So if you are watching on through the British Triathlon Facebook page, hope you're enjoying the action, and please do come and join us next month. These are free to join, open to all Home Nations members. All the details will be available on the British Triathlon Facebook page of how to join. All you need to do is just go to log into the British Triathlon website, go to your member benefits, and I think it's within the discount section. It'll tell you how you go and join the Zwift ride, but we would love to have you. The more the merrier. So we just briefly reverted back to our it's going to be our little chase group here. So we've got Lawrence in 4th. So they're going to be coming up to 1 lap to go. So I think as they come up to 1 lap to go, I think we need to swiftly go back to our leaders, because they are going to be coming up pretty soon to the finish. So here we go, 27.9 kilometers to go. We should have 29.5, 29.6, I think is the official total. So we're literally in the last mile. We've got Chris Walker, who has won 2 and finished 2nd once over the last 3 of these British Triathlon Tri-Nation Series races. He, as we said, multiple representative of the Commonwealth Games for Gibraltar. Behind him, we've got Tim Fletcher. He is back riding with us after a great debut in the first race in London. He has a sprint finish there, just lost out in that one to Will Newbury. Is he going to be able to turn the tables as we come up to the finish line? 28.5 kilometers now. So they are going to be fast approaching the finish. So keep your eyes on that right-hand side. Those, you've got the Seawalker, T-Fletch. You're going to see those figures under the watts per kilogram are going to suddenly jump at one point. Who is going to go first? Is it going to come down to the last few hundred meters? Is one of the riders going to go for a long, consistent effort? 28.8 kilometers, so less than 1 kilometer to go. We've got basically less than 800 meters. We've got less than 2 laps of an athletics track to go. So this is going to be a final burn up. I think they're playing a little bit of cat and mouse at the moment. Who is going to go first? Does somebody want a lead out? Just as in the real world, if you can get on the wheel and get a bit of a tow, get that draft effect, that will work. Chris is on the front, Tim just behind. So they're going to be in the last, I think, 300 or 400 meters now. Any moment now, they're going to absolutely have to go for it, because there will be no more time left. They're going to come over the brow of this hill. And then if you look in the distance to the right, you're going to see, oh, there you go. Looks like Tim has gone. Tim has unleashed his sprint now. We're going to be seeing that green archway. You can see it in sight. Is he going to be able to hold on? I think he is. That looks like a decisive sprint. And Tim Fletcher is going to take the win. And just behind, Chris Walker continues his great run. So Chris has been first, second in our series so far. But another great finish, great viewing. Well done, guys. So we're now back with Tim and Chris home, and our focus on our chasers. So it looks like we've actually got Lawrence and Sam Palmer. Also, they were in a similar position that we just saw with Chris and Tim. So this is going to be to determine third and fourth place. They've got 29.3. It's going to soon be 29.4k. So it's only going to be 200 meters to go for them. They're going to be putting in a big sprint now as they come over the brow of this hill. We're going to be seeing that green archway of the finish line in sight. But it looks like Sam Palmer is in the lead. I think he is going to take it. So Sam, I think that's going to be his first top three finish. As we said, he's been racing consistently with us. 6th in race 1, 8th in race 3, 5th in race 4. So well done, Sam Palmer. So we now move back through the field. We've got Mercer. It's going to come through in 6th. So there was another rider just ahead. So apologies. I think that may have been Mercer. We're now back to Dixon. So this is where it does get a little bit tricky for Andrew behind the scenes, as we get to try and jump between the two riders as they come up to the finish line. But you can see that the racing has been pretty close, not too much between anybody. I thought that we were going to get become quite complex with those multiple laps. But we're already, I think, 6 riders home. This is Stephen Dixon coming up to the line now. So great job, Stephen. So Stephen will come home in 7th position. We then jump straight back to Ben Jennings. Ben is ever present. So I'm not sure if he's the only one, but I don't think we've had too many, Ben, that have been here for all 5 races. Hopefully we'll be seeing you again on the 12th of October for the final event in the series. So Ben just crosses the line. He is home and hosed. So next up we've got a duo. We've got Nick the Greek, Dr. Kickass. Great name. What a Nick. What a great avatar. Great name to have as your online presence. So Nick and David Holmes are together. They are at 27.7 kilometers. So they are also well into their final lap. They've got about a mile to go now. Riding on these rolling roads of Central Park in New York. So within Zwift world, if it is something new to you, maybe you, as we said earlier, you have stumbled across this video and think, what's going on? Well, if you ride on Zwift, then there are a whole series of different Zwift worlds or maps that you can ride on. New York is one of the more recent ones. We've got the Zwift's own virtual world, which is known as Watopia. That's how everything started. But since then, there's been a whole range of different editions. Some, I guess, a virtual or a fantasy world. Others are representations or replicas of real-world roads. So, just as this one in New York, you can also do a real-world replica of climbing Alpe d'Huez. So we've mentioned we've got the roads of Richmond and the UCI course at Harrogate. So both of those roads where the UCI World Championships for cycling have been held. And another of other options is always different expansions of different maps and different routes. So if, as a training experience, Zwift really is fantastic. You can, just as in a real world, choose what you want to do. If you want to go out for a relaxed, easy, flat spin, then you choose that particular route. If you're looking to do a tough interval workout, you can do that. If you want a rolling hilly course, you can choose that. So it really is quite amazing what you can actually do from your own home. So if you've not tried it out yet, do go and give indoor training a go. It is one of the areas where technology really has benefited and made what used to be a somewhat mundane and pretty difficult task on the, certainly when I started out as an athlete 25 years ago, the turbo trainer was a bit of a chore. You end up staring at a garage wall and there's not actually anything to look at or any feedback. Well, things have changed. So Nick, Dr. Kickass, is coming up to the finish. So he's going to come across the line in 10th. I think we're going to have David Holmes in 11th. Sorry, in 10th. I can't even count. So it's going to be Nick, Dr. Kickass in 9th, David Holmes in 10th. So I think that just leaves one rider out on the course. So here we go. This is Fabi Amado. So Fabi is based on the details I've got here from Zwift, a Spanish athlete, but he is this evening representing Triathlon England, so could well be here based in the UK perhaps. One of the benefits here, these events open to anyone of any nationality, just if you're a home nations member, that's the only requirement. So Fabi is just coming up to 29 kilometers, only going to be about 600 meters to go. So Fabi is going to be our last rider across the line this evening. So he's got his last little bit of uphill here. And as we've seen, we just get to the brow of this hill. And then the welcome sight of that green archway, which represents the start finish line. But this time it will be just the finish line. It will be the end of his ride, the end of his 29.5 kilometers, 10 loops on this Laguardia circuit. And then that will also bring to a close the 5th of 6 races in the British Triathlon Tri-Nations Series on Zwift. thank you once again to all of our riders that have taken part. Thank you to everybody watching on. Hope you've enjoyed the action, maybe been inspired to go and take part yourself. And if you have done, as we said, you have got one more opportunity to take part in these British Triathlon Tri-Nations Series events for 2011. That will be the 12th of October, the same time, 7:30 on a Tuesday night, and that circuit will be based on the Harrogate circuit, part of the UCI Road World Championship course. Everybody is welcome, fast or slow. Bring your mates, come and join us. We will be broadcasting once again live onto Facebook. Until then, well done to tonight's winner, Tim Fletcher. Well done to Chris for once again putting on another great performance. And yeah, Chris Walker, 4 races in a row for first, second. To everybody else, thank you for your participation. Thank you to our viewers, and we will be back with you in a month's time, 12th of October, 7:30. I'll be back with you then as well. For now, good day, good night.